I'm ready for some Louis VortiX action because this is a clash of titans. And when I say titans, I mean playstyles. Guys, Louis is the wall master. VortiX, he's not. And he wants to kill. We'll see who can hold on or who can push hard enough for this, because we've seen a lot of players just overcommit in this tournament, and a lot of them just sit back for too long as well. So I feel like the styles we might see here between these two, that's where the real action is going to be today.
Yeah, walling definitely going to be a challenge here, as we're going to be starting off with Carmel. But wow, man, these two civilizations that we're seeing straight out of the gates here on Carmel, HRE for loueMT and Ruse for VortiX here in this one. With the current drafting system, you can ban out one really strong civilization, not two, not three, just one, and after that your opponent already gets to pick. So we do see Ruse making it through, we do see HRE making it through, even Knights Templar making it through here for loueMT, and that is kind of devastating because we don't just have one, but we have two hybrid-ish maps here currently with Scandinavia and Dry River.
Now, a little bit of insight. As for the LAN upcoming, we actually let the players vote on the maps that they wanted to see in the tournament. And Louis was on the side of no water maps, please. And so I know that these water maps may be scary when you see KT on that side, but we know that Louis does not enjoy the water map playstyle. So him having KT might not be the same as, say, VortiX having KT, especially on a map like that. But taking it away from VortiX is definitely critical. Now, we are going to be heading into the head-to-head here. As we can see, these are quite close. I would say that both of these players have had pretty successful runs. VortiX, for a while, was not up there, and Louis has completely dominated. But at the same time, we do see the series count, the game count pretty close. VortiX taking the lead a little bit. But Louis, the last two times they met, he came out on top.
Yeah, it just all goes to credit to just show how much loueMT has improved overall recently throughout the year. And VortiX at the moment also just looking really, really strong. So this is definitely going to be a very interesting set to look out for here. There's a reason why these players made it so far into this bracket now, as we are in the playoffs here in the semifinals with these two facing off against each other. And wham, and I mean, there's a little bit of, I want to say, like, revenge potential here as well, because if we look at like the last weekend, for example, loueMT did beat out Lucifron, so that was VortiX's brother right there. So there's of course a little bit of, I want to say, rivalry going in there as well.
Now, with the civilizations that they got out of this, I feel like we're going to see a lot more, a lot of switched playstyles here coming ahead, because if you look at the draft here for Louis as well, Louis got civilizations that aren't necessarily those that want to sit back and delay, except if you look at Ottomans, for example. But KT also a very aggressive, very on-the-ball civilization. And when you think about VortiX and maybe getting revenge for his brother, Lucifron is a player who can adapt to both. I know these two practice together. They're probably pretty well versed in anything that they can face. Louis, on the other hand, he's got some seriously strong practice partners as well. CSO has been absolutely dominating. So both of these players, they have pretty good practice partners in this. And both of them, they have a point to prove here. We've been asking ourselves, like, who's number 2 right now? And we'll see if Louis makes it through again, because I know that because this tournament, the ATR has gotten quite a bit of a shuffle once it does get updated.
Yeah, I mean, just overall, a whole slew of players are just getting mixed around. We're getting some ATR just getting sent over to some players who weren't getting as much previously, just making it further and further, deeper and deeper into these runs. And yeah, I mean, we already had, like, I want to say, a taste of this matchup here before, because VortiX, he already matched up against Louis in this tournament as well. It was in the elimination gauntlet best of 5, where Louis did beat out VortiX 3-2, but this time it's a best of 7, so potentially 7 games here ahead of us. Question is, who's gonna have like the higher stamina here in this one? Who can keep up longer? Who can have the momentum going for themselves? Maybe even win in a straight 4-0. Everything's possible here, and we're starting off on Carmel. Ruse vs HRE. Pro Scouting galore definitely coming in here. No, we're not out of Pro Scout meta yet. Some civilizations definitely still remain there, and the draft, I think it's looking good for both players here. There are some, I want to say, more conditional, more meta picks here. VortiX overall, I want to say, has the more meta pick. Louis, I want to say, are more comfort picks here. The Ottomans, Mali, Ayubids. But we are jumping straight in. And our counters reach 0, so we should now be able to get into our game number 1. Unless production trolled us.
Which they love to do.
No, we're going, and there we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Game number 1 in the semifinals. loueMT versus VortiX, a best of 7. And we do start off with VortiX here in the color red, playing as the Rus civilization. Double hunting cabins coming up here immediately. His opponent in the color blue, it is going to be none other than Team Elephants. loueMT here, playing as the HRE, the Holy Roman Empire. We're on Carmel, lots of deer. And we'll definitely see some pro scouting here today.
Well, exactly, because you are the person who's probably the highest ranked here on this caster desk. Can you tell me a little bit about the matchup between the Rus and H3 in general? Is this favored for either one? Where do you land on this?
Honestly, it's a very even matchup for the most part, I want to say. Especially on a map like this, where there's just a whole lot of resources to gather up early on in the game. When I say early on, like with pro scout including, of course, typically HRE runs out of resources a lot quicker compared to the Rus. Here in this one, it kind of depends on who gets ahead with Pro Scout. HRE should be a little bit quicker to reinforce with units aside from Pro Scouting when it comes to just producing more units, thanks to the early inspiration boost there. VortiX is going to have an easier time producing scouts right away, so he might get a head start on the Pro Scouting, but I think HRE, if they can like hunker down, deny some deer, get a good amount of deer in on their own, get a good timing on their age up, and still have a nice army mass out there, they should be looking quite well. Now, cav archers, horse archers, can be quite annoying for most other civilizations just because they are very, very mobile and they can outmaneuver you. HRE isn't as threatened by them compared to other civilizations thanks to the additional movement speed on their infantry, so they're able to keep up a lot more than other civilizations, for example.
Now, when I look at that Chappelle positioning here, I'm feeling a little sad there for Louis. This feels very open. If you're playing against Rus, this is a that's pretty risky business right there. Very exposed. Not that you have too many choices over here. But VortiX also aging up with 4, not rushing anything anywhere. Now, with the pro scouting meta, I can definitely see this being a little bit on Louis to try and deny that huge amount of deer that comes out of Rus. Now, HRE, they do have a few tricks up their sleeve anyway in this matchup. Now, I would like to see if they're actually going to go. So far, it doesn't look like we're thinking about pro scouting. And when we look at those sheep numbers as our observer is showing us there, Louis definitely did okay when it comes to picking up the sheep, especially playing against Rus, where you know that your opponent has more than 1 scout. In this case, only 2, quite surprisingly. Now, getting that huge amount of gold here on Louis' side usually indicates that, oh, he's thinking about pro scouts himself, but can we look at the villager splits? I'd really like to see if he's still rallying onto food and food only. It does look to be the case. Is this just going to be a fast castle practically?
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. So we're not seeing any wood gathering right now. It could be that Louis is gambling towards there just being so many deer here on the map that he doesn't need to go for the pro scout immediately. Rather, just go for the fast castle age, and there might still be enough deer for him to pick up in castle age, where he can utilize the tech advantage. We do see the split coming in here, so not a single villager being sent out to wood yet. Caster Curse, as 2 villagers do get sent out, potentially just for outpost though. If Louis was going for a production building, he would have more than just 2 villagers on wood, so this definitely does indicate the fast castle intention here from Louis. VortiX, on the other hand side, he is definitely playing towards that pro scout play, just needs a little bit more of a trickle now from his bounty and the hunting cabins in order to be able to afford that pro scout play, and once that comes in, we're most definitely going to see it in queue any second. Now, there we go, pro scout is now coming in for him. The thing, of course, is with Rus, you will never really be able to stop the castle age. It just won't happen. They will get castle age. You can't really deny it. They don't need to get the gold in the first place, so not really something that's reasonable to deny. And Louis, he knows his civilization does have a rather mean fast castle age, and they do have a lot of value from castle age with the Regnitz Cathedral, with the ability to just generate so much more gold from these relics. And Warrior Monks can snatch them up very quickly, so he definitely does have the incentive here to just rush up the castle age, get as many relics as possible, and then later on think about adding in his own pro scouts down the line.
Now, what I liked to see there, VortiX for a moment, he had 10 on wood. And I asked, and so I'm not speaking out of nowhere here. That's only when you add production buildings, and that's exactly what he's doing. So if you see a Rus going for 10 on wood, this does usually indicate a little bit of feudal shenanigans, or at least getting a few units out, so that they can deny the relics from the fast castle HRE. As we see the Regnus Cathedral now coming in, the second prelate is already out. This is going to indicate that he is going to try to stop those prelates from just soaking up all the relics, because you may get all the deer on the map, but when you are playing against an HRE with 5 relics, the game just doesn't feel the same. So now with that very naked castle out here in public, look at that beautiful scout, just carrying those carcasses back home, ensuring that the army is fed. They are carrying from quite far away.
It's going to take him a while to come back, though, but it looks like VortiX definitely knows what's going on here right now. We see it with the army composition. It's not just the knights, but also the spearmen. This means that he has something for every single unit composition that Louis could produce in Castle Age right away. If it's knights, he's already got the spearmen. If it's men-at-arms, he's got the knights for it. Archers, the knights work as well. Crossbows, in low mass, the knights and the spearmen are definitely going to work there as well. So we'll definitely be able to deny a good chunk of the relics here. The question is, can he get the units in position in time? Because this timing is rather close. I do suspect that Louis will be able to at least get like 1 relic back. The units are making their way across though, so it's gonna be questionable. I don't think more than 1 relic here is truly realistic at this point in time for Louis. Prelates are marching out, but yeah, VortiX already in position here. He knew the game plan before it even occurred.
And you can see those relics are quickly disappearing from the map. He knows that there's a pickup here. The relic getting pulled back to base, but the knight is collapsing on that guy. And the poor prelate will not make it far back. But he does bring it a little bit closer to the base. But now the knight numbers are increasing significantly. And the thing is, Louis knew this was coming, right? So Louis getting his own knights so that he can actually rival this. The thing is, those are pure castle knights, so they're actually going to deal pretty well with VortiX's feudal age knights that Rus can produce. Now, some of these relics do make it a little bit closer. VortiX running past, not running into the relic, but the man spots him. Beautiful maneuver.
Uses a line of sight there. VortiX does spot out the second relic though, so should be able to deny that. Wololo. Louis is not going to be sneaky enough here. Double Wololo coming in. So it looks like both these relics are going to get denied at least for the time. He got the knight! He ran in too quickly and he steals away the knight! Another Wololo comes out, but VortiX, he was just a little bit too eager there on the capturing, on the denial there, on the relic, loses out one of his early knights. Very, very expensive loss there for him. Louis behind this already up to 3 knights now out on the field. One of those, of course, being that converted Rus knight. Gives him a huge amount of momentum here. It means that he'll definitely be able to bring back at least one of the relics over here. I do say that as VortiX is going for the dive here, wants to stop that prelate from coming in. That's actually Louis' last remaining prelate here. Louis, his Archon Chapel isn't even inspiring villagers anymore. That was his last prelate.
And not securing a single relic, VortiX knew how aggressive he needed to be, and he did pay the price with a knight, but it looks like it was an okay price to deny this, at least for the time being though. The problem is just VortiX is very far from Castle Age, and now with the knight numbers increasing, this is going to start getting harder and harder for him to defend, because Louis' knights, again, those things hit like trucks. And you can see that they're just dealing with these spearmen very easily. And now it's feudal age against castle age knights, and these trades are not looking like they're going too well. VortiX is still producing constantly. And this is not the usual Rus castle age horse archer build that we are hearing on ladder. This is rather just Rus trying to deny as much as he can. Louis now stopping the production of knights as the food is running a bit low. He didn't go for pro scouts, so the man is a little bit hungry. And we'll see now if he does that little bit of a food transition or moves out on the map. The thing is, though, if he does move out, he's going to get raided.
Yeah, as well now, VortiX is going to be able to follow up now into the Castle Age behind all of this, and he's not in a bad spot. Louis, after all of this, he so far only managed to get a single relic in. High Trade House now coming up for VortiX, and Louis, his economy, we switched over to the income per minute now. it's definitely falling behind what VortiX is getting right now. The Pro Scouts is paying off at this point here. And yeah, the follow-up means that VortiX is going to be able to put out much more units onto the field here compared to Louis. Louis, second Relic, is going to be coming in for him. He does have 3 Prelates already out on the field again. That is going to be Relic number 3 that also just got picked up. Question is, can he get those last 2 relics up? VortiX still has a good amount of units out. Castle Age just about able to complete here. Louis, still good amount of knights. Might be able to find the opportunity here to get those last 2 relics back potentially as well. But never underestimate the warrior monks. They come out insanely quickly. Well, not insanely quickly, but they bring back the relics insanely quickly. They move quicker than slow infantry while carrying a relic. Quicker than men-at-arms, quicker than crossbows. Not the HRE ones though, mind you.
Yeah, those HRE ones, they do have a little bit of a speed boost when they run around. The Knights now looking for a little bit of damage. We do see a market here at the back. So, you know, he's thinking about the fact that he doesn't have all resources in abundance here. Ensuring that he does get a little bit of food. And now we also see pro scouts coming out of Louis. But the spearmen here far forward, they are taking trades and they're doing okay. But he just wants to make sure that that relic does not get picked up as well. No warrior monks coming on out just yet, but he does have a lot more spears, and he's trying to produce them as much as he can here. The knights trying to take some trades. The spearman will reign supreme. He does push Louis back, but Louis, he's got the prelates. He can make a move here, and he does. He picks up yet another one, and this was the one that VortiX could have potentially denied. We'll see if he's going to be able to shut this down. Warlord coming on through, but he does pull back. Let's see if the ping will prevail.
Traumatic experiences here. VortiX is not getting Warlord this time around. Was close though. Knights still, they tried to get the jump in on that Relic. Relic is getting close and close to the base of Louis. Behind this, he's also picked up the 5th Relic on the side from VortiX, or rather on the top side. All does get taken down, but looks like this at most is going to be a 4-1 relic split here. Louis looking very good when it comes to the gold income. His food income, though, Whammon, looks anything but good.
You can see with those tower emplacements he's starting to get, he realizes, I've got most of the relics, I've got the control, I just need to delay this. But the problem is just delaying it means that you are in a little bit of danger of being raided. And VortiX is the kind of guy who will jump under your TC and raid. Now, with these knights, he's picked up quite a few, but at the same time, Louis is okay with this. The problem is just, is VortiX going to be able to do the damage he needs? We see him floating quite a bit of resources now. And the question is just, is this because, oh, I see now, he's getting more production buildings. He wants to spice things up, just get more, and start producing a ton of units. Because you do not want to fight an HRE unless they go Imperial with no resources, like Louis is right now. He doesn't have the food for anything, 0 food per minute right now. And
yeah,
with the amount of deer slowly getting dropped off there at the TC, he is going to be able to start doing that. But you can see, he knows that this is such a risky move. He's got those towers in place. He's getting the upgrades as quickly as he can. But that gold per minute, while good, it is just gold. And that market is not going to be trading well forever.
Yeah, Louis, as you said, he's just buying food right now in order to produce units. Isn't able to afford too many, though. Sprinkle emplacement outposts with relics, though, are definitely going to be able to help him out here to a certain degree. Means, though, that VortiX, he is able to take the remaining deer away with the Pro Scout still working for him. Louis was able to ferry a couple of them back to his own base, so soon should be getting some more food income in again. Yeah, Louis, he's definitely in a very difficult spot because VortiX, his economy has still been going ham the entire time. He's been gathering food non-stop. He's got an army out there on the field, and the second he feels like, okay, Louis, you're looking a little bit too frail there in your base, he's gonna start diving and just pick off more and more villagers, as he already has. 3 villagers right now have been killed off so far. Louis also produced a couple of prelates there from the main TC. So at this point in time, there is a reasonably big villager difference, eco difference in there already. Another defensive outpost going to be enough here. We do see the knights diving in. VortiX just once again going for villager pickoffs. 2 dying immediately. Not going to get a third one in here, but still causing a lot of idle time yet again.
The problem is, when you are HRE at this point, you are just holding on for dear life. You've lost a ton of villagers in this. You've already sacrificed so many units, but you need to keep getting those towers in place. And VortiX is not the kind of guy who's going to give you that time to get your towers in place, sit back and relax. There's a few towers that were up, but the thing is that does not deter VortiX. VortiX is just going to keep on going. You can see now that Louis is just making as many spears as he can. In the queue, 4 more spears. But there's 21 spears on the side of VortiX, and they are looking for blood. The barracks also getting shut down now, and the second group of knights, they're just going to come from the other side and keep disrupting this food economy. And Rus is, honestly, looking pretty strong. I wonder, he hasn't touched gold in his base, has he?
He has not. No, just barely. Look at that. 1,000 gold gathered so far, and he's got 50 knights out, probably like 8 that have died so far. Trebuchet is now coming as well. Kind of speaks to the strength of Rus, right? They have a single relic, 1 sacred site, and they've only had to gather up 1,000 gold so far. With almost 20 knights out on the field. It's a thing. It's a thing, surely, but yeah, HRE right now just completely trapped in their base. I think Louis might have just been tunnel visioning a little bit too much here on the relics, just not respecting the pro scout play here too much. In the end, running out of food now. We do have those double emplacements here with the relics as well. Just doing a lot of damage overall, but just there's so many units here as VortiX is committing to the dive now. A single trebuchet is still going to take a while though, until this outpost is going to go down. Units starting to clash with each other now. Defensive Waller Low is going to force VortiX back here for the time being. Knights have been I want to say like slimmed down a little bit here numbers-wise. Relic gets picked off from the outpost for a quick second Waller Low. Will be put back in just a moment here, but for the time being, Louis able to hold at least a little bit, but VortiX being relentless here. Next trebuchet already in queue, going for the dive again. Emergency repairs hasn't been used yet, just now got utilized, so the outpost is going to be back to full HP in just a little bit. Now the Waller Low not coming in. Second Prelate picks that one up, not coming in. Still on cooldown there. We do have the Saint's Blessing as well.
They are trying their best to heal up these spears at the front line here as well, because those spears are so limited, but the towers are doing insane work now. You do see that army value from VortiX is not going down at all. Our observers giving us a beautiful little look at the front lines of that fight as these spearmen are getting cleaned up. And the towers, while firing wildly, they are just not able to pick this up. One of the towers now going down. This is the beginning of the end. This is where
no more wood as well.
You can't just keep on producing units. Your wood has run out. Your villagers are running for their lives. There's not enough tower to house them, and they are calling it. And Louis losing a pretty big pick here on a map that was very predictable that VortiX was going to pick Rus here. So Louis picking HRE, a civilization that's quite contested. It tells us that he thought that HRE was going to be able to do something about this. And VortiX, he's just too aggressive.
Louis losing the HRE, of course, it is a tough hit, but then again, looking at the draft, the HRE was his only real competitive choice when you're up against the Rus. Such a powerhouse of a civilization here, looking at the total resource gathered, just food, miles and miles ahead here for VortiX. He had a game plan. He had a game plan here with the HRE, with the very fast castle age, with the delayed pro scout. I think his main issue there was VortiX, he was prepared. He knew this play style, and he knew exactly how to answer it. The barracks and stable army composition here immediately to deny the relics, just perfect play from VortiX. Truly just speaking testament here to his macro as a player overall. He knows how to react in these like very early timing matchups.
Now, this is a pretty tough matchup to lose purely because you lost HRE. And this is already a massive thing to be up against after that. But VortiX, he put up the aggression. He already set the pace for the series. And next up is going to be KT against Japan. Now, both of these guys, I would expect a lot of action from either of them. VortiX, though, having Japan here, we know that Japan can do some sneaky things on especially Dry River. There's a lot of playstyles that you get to go for, but KT has been relentless on any hybrid sort of map. So losing HRE, not the end of the world. Louis has some pretty big picks, and we'll see if he's able to actually just contest this on a hybrid map when we know it's not a map that he would prefer. So he did pick the map though. So to be fair, he probably's got something cooking.
Yeah, Knight Templar, of course, being a very nice pick here for him on a hybrid map. Just tons of resource that you're going to be getting from those lumberjacks. And At the end, I think Japan is a reasonable pick against Knights Templar. The question is, though, is it going to be good enough? Because it's a very interesting dynamic when it comes to the army compositions that both these civs have access to. While the Knights Templar just have so much wood income that they are able to outmass, or at least not necessarily outmass, but keep up in the archer count up against the Yumi archers from Japanese, which are just so cheap, so easily massable, and being able to keep up in the mass with a more expensive and more robust archer unit straight away means that feudal age or prolonged feudal age might not be in the best interest of Japan here in this one, unless maybe they go for samurai, but then you lose out a lot on the mobility front. It's a difficult one. Maybe Castle Age, like a fast-ish Castle Age, might be more reasonable in this one from the Japanese, with a couple docks here and there early on to get the economy going. It's still a difficult one, because if you find yourself without food to immediately produce a lot of units as Japan upon hitting Castle Age, you just fall further and further behind, not just because of the pilgrims, of course, but also just because the Knights Templar economy is no slouch baseline. So much wood income, so many resources that you can put into the pawns yourself or just harass with army. I truly think that if you don't have enough food to sustain a fast Castle Age, you will find your opponent with Knights Templar quicker in your base than you want them to.
And I think the mass of units that they can pump out is just a lot to deal with. I think a lot of people, when you see KT, you're like, oh, these income, I just need to shut down the pilgrims. But they've got so much going for them, which makes this so difficult. Now, at the same time, I want to take a quick look at the rest of the draft, because we do have the time for this. Now, Scandinavia, when I looked at the map, I was like, I wonder who got Mongols. And I saw both of them banned out Mongols for this. Now, Mongols has been a little bit of a menace in the tournaments, but I don't think we've seen a priority ban on Mongols up until now. So it definitely has found its footing, and it's very difficult to shut down on a map like Scandinavia. So now that Haiti is out of the picture, Japan's out of the picture, what do we foresee on something like Scandinavia, where VortiX is very comfortable? Is there a pick that Louis would probably do based on what he does?
Zhuji Ayubits. Zhuji Ayubits. There's no doubt in my mind that if we get to this one before, with the current draft, has to be Zhuji Ayubits.
Oh, I love the confidence. Crackety knows, guys. This is why he's the best. And the rest of this as well. I feel like Frisian Marshes, also a map that's... We've seen a lot of very short games, and we've also seen a lot of very long games, but there's no real mid-ground between those two. So both of these players, we see French in that draft as well, which does very well. We see Lancaster. I feel like VortiX, he has a lot of options for the maps that there are left, but that could also mean that he can foretell exactly what Louis is going to be picking in his draft based on the map itself. Louis taking English as well, probably not a high priority pick here for anyone at the moment, but yeah, what do you foresee on a map such as Gorge in this case?
On a map like Gorge, I think Louis typically will want to go for Ottomans. VortiX, on the other hand side, JD, French, Byzantines, most likely. Dry Arabia, I would say maybe House of Lancaster. Could also work on Frisian Marshes, but Byzantines also works well on Frisian Marshes. So I think maybe French JD on Gorge, then Dry Arabia would be good for House of Lancaster, and Frisian Marshes, that would be a Byzantines pick for VortiX.
Wow. But the way that you said it, I feel like there's a lot of options, and it doesn't feel like Louis can exactly predict what he's going to be facing on every single map, which makes counterpicking a little bit harder for him than it does for VortiX. So I think in that regard, VortiX does have a little bit of an edge here, but at the same time, we've seen how Louis can survive. And guys, now KT versus Japan on Dry River. I hope you boys are ready, because this, hopefully, is going to be a lot of units in a very little amount of time. And let's hop on into game number 2.
Game number 2, VortiX. He is 1 point behind at the moment on the scoreboard, and he smells blood. No, 1 game ahead. My apologies. He was the one that won with Ruse just now. But we are still seeing a very aggressive play here very early on. We do see the Japanese opening with a Dark Age Docks. Louis, on the other hand side, though, immediately going for the gold. He is not interested in any Dark Age bounce, and he has a very good map here for him. Gold all the way in the back means that if VortiX wants to aggress onto that gold early on, he's going to have to walk the walk.
And this just spells exactly what we expect to see from VortiX. But Louis knows that VortiX is this kind of guy, and he's gone to scout. We'll see if that scout is actually going to be spotting the barracks there. It doesn't look like it, not yet at least. But he does see that he's not on gold, which should foretell that there are some shenanigans on the way. Now, VortiX putting the barracks there at the front, I don't know if this was the idea of, hey, I want to evade the scout, or if it's just, hey, I want to make sure my unit can run straight there. But now VortiX already telling us he wants to play this aggressively, and he's going to be doing exactly that. Louis asks himself, okay, you went on gold. What are you doing? But the options, I would say, is pretty limited. He's either on water or he's being aggressive. So he is about to spot out a spearman when he does go around here. Oh my
Doesn't
goodness.
quite find them yet. VortiX is also scouting for the gold. He's about to find it. Spearmen don't want to walk into the TC range. And now VortiX knows, okay, that's where the gold is. Spearmen now on their way. Louis doesn't quite have enough gold yet. He's sending a third villager out there. Should be able to gather enough fourth villager coming in as well to seal the deal on the age up. So VortiX not going to be able to deny the age up. Is going to be able to at least do some damage to the villagers here. Spearman has to be so careful not to run into the range of the TC. And now Louis, he's gathered up enough gold. He's going to be able to age up very, very shortly. VortiX, he's just going to have to be content with at least denying the mining camp. Okay, for a second I was scared that there might have been just one gold missing out there. But yeah, at the moment, Louis, he doesn't have to be too afraid here. And we are actually going to be seeing the Knights Hospitaller coming in here. So definitely interesting.
Now, I absolutely love the fact that he stopped with 2 spearmen and he said that's enough. He knows exactly how much he needed to actually shut down that Knights Templars boost at the moment they hit feudal. And because they have such a fast feudal age, they do get to decide what the pace of the game looks like for the rest of it. Louis, though, he's got a lot of wood right now. And we might be seeing a nice little production building, or I would say production, instead of a dock that might follow up. Although he did spend it there for a second already. And I do expect to see a barracks when we look back at his base now, unless, yes, that's definitely a barracks, yes. He wants to contest this, ensuring that he can get control back of the map, although VortiX has, he's pulled out.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for him. He needs to get an archer range out instead. There we go, archer range now getting rushed out. Because the Knights Hospitaller are actually fairly gold expensive. So he will want to get access to that one as soon as possible. Cross Stars at the same time coming up now for VortiX. Just one archer is going to be enough here for him to regain access over the gold. And to be fair, VortiX, he knows, okay, I didn't deny the age up, I can't stick around, he's just going to have to fall back here. So Spearmen are going to retreat for the time being. They're just going to be used as scouts here, looking at the ponds, looking if there's like any villagers moving out right now. Villagers are actually moving out, so Louis is not only going to be looking to secure his own gold now, but also looking to secure some pawns. And look at that, not just one, but 3 villagers. It's not just one pawn that he's after. He wants to get as many as possible here, I think.
This feels a little bit risky, but high price, and it can give you a very high reward. Especially just having those 2 archers out is going to deny those spears that you have out here on the map. So he feels pretty confident in this. VortiX, though, I feel like those spearmen, they did the damage they needed to do. They slowed down Knights Templar in a way, but that is not a... Oh, that is a dock. I was about to say, is that a tower on the water? But no, it's just another dock. The man wants to fish, and with the amount of wood he's getting per minute, that feels like the best option ever. You can just see the wood is skyrocketing. And VortiX, though, what is he going to do to answer this? We do see he's got a lot of gold in his pocket already and has not decided how to spend it just yet. But with the wood now, that's not a lot of wood income if you want to be contesting water here. But
knowing VortiX as a player, I would assume that he's opening up with a stable, go for some horsemen. Eventually, if he wants to contest more in feudal age, he is going to need more than that, though. He's going to need an archery range as well. We do see... Oh, no, okay. He's actually instead going directly for the age-up play here. He's going to have to be careful, though. He's going to have to pull the villagers away from the berries. Villagers on gold are going to need to rush that outpost up in order to be able to continue gathering up from there. But yeah, looks like he's just going to go for a fast castle play behind this. I'm not sure about that. He might be giving Louis a little bit too much time there, just leaving him to his own devices for a bit too long.
That's also the problem with this food that he has right now. That's not a lot of sheep under the TC. He doesn't have any economy coming from fish either. and you're just allowing your opponent to get their fish economy up, and then what are you going to do when the numbers start ramping up against you? Because he's going to be able to make a few mounted samurai, and if those don't do a significant amount of damage, he's going to struggle with this. Now the archers are quickly going to get deleted, and that's why Louis is switching over to spears, because he knows what could be on the horizon here. Now, he does push another vill off of gold there, but at the same time, Louis is just fishing and making some spears. We'll see now if Louis does decide to go for another composition here or just go for castle himself. But with this lead that he already has, he's probably feeling pretty good. Another spearman in queue now, and you can see VortiX is aware of this food issue. He's not going to have a lot of food for a long time, so he does need to try and capitalize on every single bit he can. So going back to those berries, trying to get every single berry he can get plucked before he needs to pull those villagers back. But these villagers are going to be very susceptible to raids later on. We just see those sheep disappearing under the TC all too quickly.
Yeah, he is actively gathering from the rice fields from his Kura storehouse, and the positioning is nice from the Kura. He placed it in such a way that the initial farms that spawn will be directly adjacent to the TC. So Louis is not going to be able to dive deep enough here in order to immediately get any damage on villagers out there. VortiX is very, very quickly getting to the age up point now. We see a stable getting dropped as well. So will most likely just be that mounted samurai opening here. Behind this, Louis now also expanding to a third pond. A lot of fishing ships already out here for him at this point in time as well. Don't have any pilgrim play yet, though.
And I think that also speaks to the fact that the gold was shut down so early on. He's just prioritized getting the other parts of the economy running. But when you're up against mounted samurais, I mean, you do feel a little scared just investing in pilgrims that can get shut down so quickly. But Floating Gate being rushed up with 12 at the moment. And with a pretty sizable army outside your base, you probably need to consider what is going to come out next to this. Pilgrims now coming on in, and the mass seems to be rotating. They seem to be looking for blood, but he's not producing anything else. So this could just be a single pilgrim play into going castle himself. I was saying that, and then he queued up a few more units. This man, he's listening, and he's doing exactly the opposite.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit difficult, though, I want to say now, for VortiX. Because of the Spearman, he doesn't directly have anything that he can really achieve, I want to say, like with his Mounted Samurai. VortiX is going to be able to potentially give Louis a little bit of a runaround with the Shinto Priest, get some relics in nice and early on. He's going to have to make sure his villagers don't die. He's going to be able to bring them into safety. First Pilgrim is now coming out for Louis, so he's going to start raking in a little bit more gold passively. VortiX First Mounted Samurai already in. We don't have enough gold gathered yet for the Daimyo Manor to give him that Uma Beneman. Yeah, Louis just being very cautious here with his own military, trying to just get the read on where the Shinto Priest is going. Doesn't want to give any relics over for free to VortiX.
Now, this man is trying to find some damage. We see him sliding on the way to the other side. The thing is now, that is a pretty healthy water economy. And what I absolutely love to see is the fact that the fishing is quite aggressive. He knows it's going to be important to get as much fish as possible here. Investing more than 3 fishing boats onto a lake just means he wants to get the food and he wants to get it quickly because he knows what's about to happen here. It seems to be a pretty cheap investment to just keep that economy ahead. Let's go find that samurai and see what he's going to run into. We do see that he's going straight for the gold, trying to get a little bit of damage over there, but there is also a pretty big chunk of villagers out here. Republic of Genoa that's
immediate reaction.
So fast. Louis always fast on the fingers. It does look like he might get a kill. One villager going down.
He gets a kill, but this was so close, mind you, that he did go up with the Knights Hospitaller. So his villagers, they do have bonus movement speed, they do have bonus health on them. It is not as easy for VortiX to get kills on them. And do mind you that the Mounted Samurai, with all of their additional attack boosts, with Uma Beneman, they typically get very, very close or are very easily able to two-shot villagers, not just with a charge, but just normal basic attacks.
And that definitely puts him at a little bit of an edge here when it comes to you having to run away from things too. Now, I do see that this pilgrim is being, he's being let free here. But the Pilgrim gets a little bit of an extra step in his boots and tries to make it out here. The Samurais, they are diving deep. They did get another villager, but this could be a very expensive villager that they're about to be taking down. Those guys are very low, and any bit of damage is going to turn this pretty quickly. 3 of them running out. Now a wall coming up at the top there. Ooh, pretty close, yes.
It's always so difficult with these knights. Like, sometimes you think, oh, I clicked them far enough. Surely the spearmen aren't going to follow me this far. But they always do. And once again, VortiX is trying to dive in. The spearmen have him surrounded. If he's able to bring these knights back, he's going to be able to heal him back up. But now, with the full surround, another quick wall coming up here from Louis as well. I don't think he's going to get all of them out alive. Another quick wall coming in very quickly here. VortiX, he wants to get out. This is not the position where he wants to be in. Another quick wall. Louis, this guy walls.
He does, and he knows exactly how to utilize those things perfectly. He knows how to stop them knights just charging at you. Pilgrims also getting rerouted, as VortiX knows exactly where they were going earlier. Now, Louis seems to be in a pretty good spot here. VortiX is pivoting, though. He's decided to go for some archers in this composition, which is a pretty natural response when you're up against all those spears. But look at those pilgrims just shouting at the skies, bringing in more gold. Now, mounted samurais going for yet another wave. But this is starting to become some pretty expensive attacks.
VortiX at least is able to bring back relics here. Mind you that every single pilgrim is worth roughly 130 gold per minute if they're able to make it to the max sacred site. With Genoa, that goes up to roughly 160, 170-ish. So that equals out to like 2 relics. So if VortiX gets 2 relics in, as long as there isn't any, 4 relics in, as long as there aren't any, I want to say fortresses, he's going to be even on the passive gold income.
Well, this does look like a pretty scary push from VortiX, but at the same time, he needs to be so careful with those samurais because that's a lot of spears. And we do see those samurais finding a little bit of more damage. And that is a pretty massive pickup yet again, but the villagers, they do get to run away, just not all making it out alive. Now, guys, I want you to keep in mind, even though Louis is playing Knights Templar, he's supposed to be a little bit behind in the villages. He's invested so much in fishing ships. And as we can see, there's only 1 full set of fish on that little pond. And that's going to mean that those fishing boats are going to be dead weight pretty soon. So Louis, he's definitely ahead in terms of the income and ensuring that he can produce more units. But the problem is, it's temporary. And he needs to keep taking favorable trades in this.
VortiX on the other hand side, is he dropping any Yoroshiros inside of his main TC? If he does, he is going to be able to slowly but surely catch up in the village department, and he does have that Yoroshiro inside that main TC, meaning that he's actually got a Song Dynasty-like bonus going for him at the moment. Villagers only taking 15 seconds now to produce on his side. Little fight here with the Mounted Samurai, able to still keep the low HP one alive, at least for a little bit longer, but will get taken down eventually. Sacred Site capturing. Attempt, at least by VortiX, will get denied here. If he's able to capture up the sacred sites, these are no longer be accessible for the pilgrims from Louis. So definitely a lot of value there in being able to capture those up. Means that Louis is not going to have, like, he's going to be very much limited when it comes to sacred sites where he can send the pilgrims to.
And this mass is starting to get quite scary, but we do see that army value on the side of VortiX here, or on the side of Louis. Now, he is, however, losing a few units here to these little raids. The thing is, VortiX seems to be pretty calculated in this. He wants to keep shutting down, he wants to keep delaying, because he knows that fishing economy does expire at some point. The Templar brothers, they are going to be quite difficult to handle. The crossbows, being able to pick off these samurai, he does stop the relic for now, but there is already another boy that can pick these up, so he is most likely going to be able to secure that second one too. Now, the prelates or the pilgrims do make their final way to that sacred site, and they will need to find a different direction afterwards.
Yeah, they can at least go for the last one hurrah there, as they do approach cautiously, I want to say. They go for the last hurrah there, but they'll not be able to return until that one gets decapped. So for the time being, Louis only has access to 2 sacred sites in the middle and the one on the top side. Is still getting a lot of passive gold in. VortiX does have a sacred site at the very least, so currently passive gold income is very even between the two. VortiX slowly but surely is going to pull ahead though in the economy department, courtesy of just having those villagers come in once every 15 seconds, and he already killed a couple. And as you mentioned, loueMT, these fishing ships are gonna expire sometime soon. Shoreline fish is not a renewable resource here. VortiX now also switching to a lot of infantry units. Louis, he went for only crossbow so far. We don't see any generous crossbowmen. So for the time being, no direct counter to these spearmen from VortiX.
Now, with VortiX's spearmen, he's possibly going to be able to take some pretty good trades against this army of Louis. But I feel like at the same time, with that archer mass that he's built up, it's so easy to just lose control of them, especially considering that these players are not playing on the ideal ping for either of them. You know, Louis based in Asia, VortiX based in Europe, these guys are not able to play on a server that you can micro perfectly. So every split second of a misstep can cost you a pretty sizable chunk of that. Now the samurai are keeping all the horses here occupied from Louis. But that army, you can see VortiX having a blob at the top. He's just running into those walls constantly, trying to find a little bit of damage. But this can just keep costing him. Because now, these guys, they're going to split up. They're going to try to find some damage here. But the problem is just, he's going to keep losing them. And he needs to keep these knights occupied. Some of them are pretty occupied there at the back. Villager going down there at the top on the gold. He's also raiding right there. A few of the samurai doing some decent damage. Another 2 villagers going down in this last raid. But 2 villagers at the cost of 5 mounted samurai. It does feel pretty expensive at this stage of the game now.
And now we're also getting the first fortress of the game. Louis dropping that one in the middle, on the middle sacred side. And this means that he is now going to be getting roughly an additional 170 gold per minute as soon as that comes in. That's like 2 relics that he's getting. And another landmark. And a defensive building at that as well. And a buff to his units around it. So that's going to be a very, very high value army. It says 9,000 at the moment for him, but with all the buffs from the fortress, if he takes a fight around that, that's going to be more like 12,000 value worth of units. VortiX behind this, he's pumping in more and more on a Geisha. But this feels very dangerous against an opponent who has 15 Templar brothers at this point in time, 15 knights, very high armored knights. Villagers getting away in time there from the berries, but I don't think this could be a spot where he can remain for much longer with this massive army now from Louis here at the front sides residing.
You can see VortiX is trying to pick off every single unit he can. He knows he needs to. That is a pretty scary army that is hanging around the front of your base. He does pick off a few of these spears as well. This means that those mounted samurai, singular, is going to be able to do quite well, but he does discover the keep in his base, or in his face at least. And the dock, even though he might burn this down, it's not a dock that has a lot of value. And you can see now those crossbows are just snacking on all these units at the front while the dock is being focused down. Now that does mean that a few of those fishing ships are going to be idle, but they were not going to be active for much longer anyway.
Louis, he is now switching over to the generous crossbowmen, so we'll have a counter to the infantry units from VortiX, at least somewhat. Going to be able to do a lot of damage to them, but VortiX has a very big mass. Those, I want to say the generous crossbows are mostly like a counter to few units because they don't attack quite quickly. They're like semi-hand cannoneers in that regard. Like in mass, they are able to deal with just about everything. But with so many units, they won't be able to kill enough in time. And we do see now Louis going for a huge raid. The Templar brothers, they're just running in right now. No regard for any opponent units here right now. There's not enough spearmen to defend against this. And VortiX on his own side is also diving in deep. Does he have enough to defend against this? Templar brothers also splitting off into the woodline. At the same time, VortiX being preoccupied by the remaining ranged force here from Louis. Also trying to dive deeper into the economy, but there's just not that much static economy, I want to say, for Louis. He's running around with villagers. There's nothing really inside of his base right now to attack on. And Louis is getting amazing value inside the base from VortiX behind this.
You can see the idle numbers here from VortiX being much, much higher than those of Louis. He's already pulled a few vills to safety, but the problem is he's going to be paying a very dear price here, Mr. VortiX, losing a significant portion of this army. The Bugattis, though, they're doing pretty well at these trades. We can't see that they are slicing all the way through, but at the same time, you can see that villager kill count. VortiX has, he's lost quite a bit. 19 villagers now down by Louis' hands. And all of a sudden, this is looking a lot better for Louis in terms of the economy as well, even though that fishing has run out.
to 1400 gold per minute now on that one single fortress. Louis has also been gathering up a little bit more stone, so could be soon seeing additional fortress coming in. Triple sacred sites also locked in behind this. VortiX, he does not have a lot of gold income at all at the moment, and Louis, he's positioned units at the next gold mines for him, so it'll be difficult for VortiX right now to regain control over gold. He's got to do that very, very soon, as he doesn't have a big bank of it at the moment. Food income, at least, I want to say, is looking a lot better at the moment for VortiX, at least when it comes to renewability, renewable resources, always something that you want to have in your empire. VortiX, with the Curastors and additional farms, is looking good in that regard. But still, I feel like just the massive difference there in gold, it's just so dooming to a certain degree.
The problem is, you can see Louis is desperate for that last bit of food. Going out onto the lakes when there's barely any shoreline fish left, he wants every grain of food he can get. And VortiX, with that renewable source of food, he is going to need to be able to make units and take trades very, very well for a long time before this equalizes, because these raids are causing idle time. So even though the food is there, he's just not able to get it for as long as he needs. Now, these Templar brothers, they're just running right through everything. There's absolutely nothing that can stop them from doing this damage. And the damage here is idle time. But that second TC has been added for VortiX. He is not feeling like he's going to back out of this just yet. He says, my economy will be strong again. But we can see the power of walls this game, Brackety. You can see VortiX, he's just getting raided now. And every raid is doing significant damage. While Louis, he got raided for a while, but now, the walls are doing work.
Yeah. In the end, Louis has been able to pick off more villagers from VortiX than VortiX from Louis. Does have that second TC coming in, though. Did have that Yorshire inside the TC for a while. So these fishing ships, I think some are just about due to get deleted at some point soon. Some have been deleted over here already. Oh, Louis is actually still ahead. There must have been some additional idle time then on these TCs as well. If Louis is still ahead at this point in time in the villager department, he has added in a second TC of his own. Still, the Yorishiro TC should have been definitely paying off at this point in time.
It does feel like there was maybe a little bit of overspending here and there just to try and keep up with this army mass, especially on the inside of his base and all that food being idle. We can now see VortiX still being desperate enough to go out on the map and get berries. This tells you that he is also just not on enough food to constantly produce what he needs to. The problem is, when we look at this army, he's still just getting a lot of archers. And against this huge composition, I feel like Louis' numbers are just too scary to handle this right now. And I mean, when you look at that army value, it's already telling you exactly that story too. Almost 11,000 here on the side of Louis. He doesn't need a keep to sustain this army's damage and power. He's just going to be able to go on right through and destroy everything at VortiX when he decides to do so. Now, you can see him getting every single upgrade in the book. Now, Horsemen getting upgraded too. This is just going to mean that this very versatile army is not going to get shut down too easily. Now, they are looking for a charge here, and the connection does look like it's about to come on in.
And Louis, he's just getting so much passive gold, and he's able to continuously pump out these very expensive units. We're now seeing the second fortress coming in, so that's going to be another 170 gold per minute for Louis as soon as that one completes. Actually, with the ability to send pilgrims out to set that sacred site, and with the buff, this could be almost 200 gold per minute there for him on all of these pilgrims. So with 4 pilgrims, that's 800 gold per minute.
VortiX now adding in his own horsemen though, and getting a non-gold intensive unit in this mix is probably going to be quite important here. That aren't just the ones he already has, but we do see this is a Louis that feels confident in starting to dive. VortiX now losing a few houses along the way, and this is starting to look pretty grim for him, because you know that there's this massive army you just don't have an answer to. VortiX though, more and more horsemen in queue. We do see the food per minute being almost equal, and Sacred Sites timers has been started. So this is going to be an extra little bit of a boost to that gold economy for Louis. And it starts to feel pretty risky here.
Yeah, speaking of things that aren't equal though, looking at the army value, Louis more than doubles what VortiX has at the moment. And that's just very rough. VortiX is also struggling a little bit on the gold control. Food also no longer looking that great for him, and honestly, this is just looking worse and worse at the moment for VortiX. Farm transition now also coming in for Louis. VortiX is creeping in with the villager count that your share inside the main TC, definitely helping out there. But when everything's even, nothing's even, because Knights Templar are just getting so much more value from those pilgrims here than VortiX. Can we actually quickly check villagers on gold at the moment from Louis? Just switch over the UI there, because yeah, he doesn't have anybody on gold. This is all passive. All the gold that you're seeing there, it's passive. We're at over 800 gold per minute, completely passive.
And the problem is VortiX's gold access is so limited at the moment. It's limited to that little stone with the passive gold you get from it, and a very tiny gold on the left side of the base. So this army, this fight, is the only fight he has to get back onto gold, because all the gold is so far out. He's fighting under his DC. It does look like these horsemen did not find any damage. Those walls are just doing the work they needed to. Horsemen feeling quite confident to move on over, and you can see that TC now being upgraded. It's going to make this a little bit harder, but at the same time, that TC can only pick off one unit at a time. So it is going to be quite hard. Horsemen just getting boxed out at that last second. And this is already a pretty sizable chunk of VortiX's army. When your army is half the value, it does feel extra scary. A few more villagers getting picked off here, and the gold is going to get shut down. So the gold that he has in the bank is the only gold he's going to have access to for quite a while.
Yeah. VortiX, he does have a decent army size, but yeah, just the army value not being there for him. Sacred Side also becoming an issue. Louis, at this point in time, could also start dropping another fortress on the third Sacred Side. VortiX now wants to take a fight here. Horsemen are trying to make their way past the front line from Louis. Won't be able to find the connection, though. Just going to be content with being able to take down that ram and will reset for the time being. But Louis just doesn't look like he's content with a reset here. Units, there's a little bit of a blockade. Traffic jam coming in. Trying their best to make it past the houses.
They do make it into the safe region there of the DC, but this scary army is staring straight at him. And there's no answer VortiX has to actually shut down any of these fortresses on the map. And with another one coming in, that's just going to be another set of gold per minute. And, I mean, we're already at almost 1,000 gold per minute. Louis is a very happy camper.
Yeah, also able to just pick off more and more villagers here. VortiX does have that Shogunate Castle working for him, able to increase his food income by a lot. What's crazy is that Louis, because he doesn't need any villagers in gold, he's able to keep up in the food department.
And even if when the farms were not active yet, he could just be chopping the wood and getting that. But now there's a lot of farms at the back of his base too. So even if he loses this army, he can replace this so quickly. He's almost here at max population. But the replacement value for him is going to be so much simpler to do. VortiX now trying to take a little bit of a fight. Horsemen flanking at the top. We do not get a connection here. Those Templar brothers scaring them off. That horseman composition as well. He does need to be careful. The Bugattis are slicing here through the front lines. The horsemen are just looking for a connection right now.
January's crossbows are relatively slow, but the formation here working to the advantage of loueMT, being able to formation shuffle always back to the reinforcement units here, means that the army from VortiX isn't actually effectively able to get close. He is doing his best though. Yumi archers are being able to snipe out a lot of the ranged backline from Louis, and he was able to pick off a good amount of units there, but in the end, the value just still is not there for him. His army just doesn't have that value, and Louis, he's about to finish the wall of Kingdom of Poland coming in behind this Whammon. Once those Slachta Knights are coming in, I am not sure if VortiX has anything left in the tank to just put forward against that.
It's the Imperial upgrades that he's going to be ready for the moment he hits this as well. He's got the income, he's got the mass, and he's also got VortiX's gold there at the bottom with a fortress on top. So it's not like VortiX can get out of this and move past it. He needs to win a fight and then win another one, and then try and somehow make siege with the lack of gold that he has to try and shut this down. But Kingdom of Poland hits now. And let's see what that first upgrade is going to be. He instantly gets the crossbows upgraded first. So he knows where the value is, and he knows what he needs to do. VortiX, though, he wants to take this fight, because this is the only opening that he's going to feel like he has. But Louis, he's already ready with the raid. He wants to ensure that VortiX stays in his base, and he has time to get his upgrades. We see those Genoese crossbowmen just trying to kite They're aware that they're pretty slow. The formation might work a little bit against him. He has the horseman get on top, and he is able to pick off quite a bit of these. The army numbers now dwindling for Louis, but the army value is still very much in his favor.
And not just that, there's a lot of upgrades currently on the way for Louis as well. Yumi Archer still being able to pick off a good amount of these Journey's crossbows, which have been upgraded here. Raid still going on. VortiX just relying on reinforcements to deal with that. Now we do have the fortress helping out here for Louis as well. And not just that, he can always just fall back behind the walls in order to make sure that the infantry cannot get close on top of them. Currently just waiting for this front line to thin out, and as soon as the last spearmen are gone, that's going to be the moment in time when the Knights Templar, the Templar brothers, are just going to be collapsing on those Yumi Archers. No more counter units available for him. The Yumi Archer's going to have to run. Lots of army value now also gone for VortiX. Louis still just consistently keeping a double army value lead going here.
It does look like some of those villages were unfortunately misrallied there to the top. They are all going towards their death. But VortiX, even though it looks like his army is significantly more, you do see the value difference. This is just insane. And now Louis getting another fortress here too is going to be so hard to shut down, because some of these villages might go down, but he has so much more. But he knows this is the only moment I have to get the sacred side timer. But 2 fortresses out here on the side of VortiX. This just doesn't feel like anything he can shut down.
This is half the economy from Louis that he just had over on VortiX's side of the map. And VortiX can't do anything about that because of all of these fortresses right now, just preventing him from dealing with those. His army count, it's shrinking further and further and further. There's still so many Templar brothers in queue behind this from Louis. It's just a never-ending slew of army units here right now. And yeah, VortiX, he is ahead in the food income at the moment. Louis, gold income, similar, but it's just, he's already got all the upgrades that he needs in the world, and this is just mostly passive income. We're currently sitting on 6 pilgrims that are able to make their way to the sacred side or the top side. So that's going to be 1,200 gold passively for loueMT every time.
This is such a tough position to be in, but VortiX knows. I think at this point VortiX realizes, okay, I'm a little bit cooked here. And at the same time, he says, let me get the gunsmith. Boys, I'm going to be getting free units, and we're going to fight this thing out. He's aggressive, but he knows how to take his time and get there. The problem is, with that gunsmith being at the front, there's a lot of knights there that can collapse on any unit that dares come out of it. So VortiX, he does have a little bit of gold left, but even if he makes it through, for now, he is just going to get collapsed on the moment that Imperial Age hits, because Louis will know this is the one moment you did not produce any units, and you can see those spearmen are barely tickling these horses.
Cast of the Crow, not really a viable option here considering the map. There aren't any neutral markets, so if he goes for it, he's going to lose out on most of the value of that landmark. Tanegashima Gunsmith at least is going to give him access to some free units, but whammon, at this point in time, 2 sacred sites completely walled off, fortresses next to every single one of them. It's looking grim. VortiX, it just feels like there's no potential for him at the moment to get a decap in on these sacred sites. He's massing up more and more units. He is getting some Usutsu in. He's getting a Bombard in. He wants to make one final push onto one of these sacred sites. Tries his best to do so, but I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it working out against this many elite Templar brothers.
There's 1 minute on the sacred site timer left, and it doesn't even feel like those units will move towards the sacred site in time here. Now, biology coming on in. Everything is about to hit before this fight happens from VortiX's side. He's making only spears because that's the only thing he can afford right now. We can see that Imperial Age upgrade just coming on in right now.
It's not going to finish.
He needs to try and make a move. These guys...
And we're seeing another fortress coming in last minute on the sacred side that VortiX has decided to attack on. Only 3 villages at the moment, more getting rallied over though. And Louis, he's getting himself into position.
Now, he doesn't even feel like he needs to defend this. It looked for a second like he was just going to go straight for the attack. The Ozotsu's doing some good work here at the front, but they want to be focusing on the tower. He's on top of the sacred site. The timer was paused for a moment there at 21 seconds right now, but he holds it. He has had enough.
And GG comes in. Knights Templar, still an absolute powerhouse on these hybrid maps. VortiX, though, he did a good job with the Japanese here. Unfortunately, just not able to keep up with the water boom in the end. And Louis able to also just contest a lot of these relics, meaning that, yeah, Louis now able to even out the set 1-1, meaning that we're going to be jumping into a game number 3 very soon with an even score between these two.
And this kind of sets the pace for, is aggression going to be enough, or is the defensive walls going to do the trick? I feel like Louis showed the perfect level of both in this last game. He showed us he knows how to delay the game to the point where he feels comfortable and then let the raiding happen. VortiX looked good for a second there. Knights Templar has been a civilization that nobody lets through, on this map especially, but they got through, right? So that's it. You gotta accept that. And VortiX, he realizes, hey, I might not be able to take down KT, but I'm going to die trying. So pretty good showing here on Japanese. But Krakety, I don't want to say you called it, but you called it 100% accurately. Scandinavia with Ayubids and Zushi.
Yeah, not really any other choices here when it comes to the civilizations. Maybe you could substitute Ayubids for the Abbasid, but on hybrid, that's just a worse version in the end, and doesn't really play to the strengths of these drafts from these two players. So Zhuji up against Ayubids definitely making a lot of sense here coming out from these two players. And Scandinavia, very nice hybrid map overall. I want to say the dynamic is very interesting with how players decide which river they invest their economy into, and just seeing the dives every now and then, like the dock attempts on the opposing river, and just being able to deny, harass a little bit here and there. It's a very fun dynamic for a map, for a hybrid map. It's like Holy Island twice over with a lot more comeback potential on water, I want to say.
We've seen the snowball of Ayubids in these scenarios. We've been seeing a lot of military wings coming on out, and that constant reinforcement of camels has been overwhelming for most civilizations, though, especially with such a strong economy that you have to just boost that on at least having one side of the water here. Now, Zushi, though, they have had quite a few tricks. They've been a pro scout civ. They've been a civilization that just overwhelms. But at the same time, they've always been constant on water here. So with this being a best of 7, guys, these men have been playing out against one another in best of 5s for weeks. So best of 7 does taste a little bit differently, because you can be ahead, but you still need to do a lot of work to make it on through. So now that Ayubids and Zushi have been chosen, I feel like the matchups that we don't get to see as much is finally going to start shining through. I'm really excited to see a little bit more of Malians on the field and a little bit more Byzantines coming on out here. But Scandinavia stays pretty standard. If it's not KT and not Mongols, you're going to get some Ayubids and Zushi in the mix as well. A little bit of Lancaster here and there too.
A nice and healthy mix-up of civilizations. And now it is time. Game number 3 is ahead of us. On Scandinavia, we're jumping right in with Ayubids up against the Zhuji's legacy here for VortiX, spawning in the color red. And wow, and this is an interesting dynamic here, because we could see the Ayubids, for example, opening up with a dock play. They do get those very, very cheap dock ups. Zhuji's legacy, more often than not, we see just straight up rushing it to the feudal age and then going for a dock afterwards, because they get that age up in so quickly that typically they're able to get a archer ship out on the field and immediately deny any semblance of water economy from their opponent before it even really starts paying off. But Louis, we're not seeing any villagers move out to a pond yet, so this appears to just be a similar age up play, fast feudal age up play at the moment from Louis. So we'll see these two players in feudal age before long.
And we have to think about now, Zushi also don't mind going into feudal instantly, because with that little garden they can be placing, we'll see where he's going to be meditating today. But getting that meditation garden as early as you can, that does feel pretty good, especially when there's a stone included here as well. The VortiX out sheeping for Louis and trying to get every bit he can. Now, this makes a lot of sense. If you're trying to get into a faster feudal with Zushi, you already start with an imperial official, so you're collecting taxes from the get-go, which makes this a lot easier. Even for people who go for pro scouts, right? Zushi has been the civilization that has the answer to everything. But I would really like to see where we can possibly get that meditation garden on the map. Because VortiX, he does have a few spots, but they don't all look so Jushi.
Yeah, not very Juji indeed. There is one in the back with the stone and the berries. I think that's probably the most accessible one for him. Has a wood line there as well, or on the side. Actually, the one on the side, the one in the back is safer, but the one on the side has the large berry patch, and that's an additional 12 food per minute, which you probably don't want to miss out on if you're trying to min-max it. So. But it looks like he is going for the one in the back. Is a little bit safer, not as many resources, but you can put it right up next to the woodline. So even if you're not getting the entirety of the additional 12 food per minute from the berries, you are going to be making up for it with a little bit more wood income there.
Now, this does feel like a pretty good spot, just because of, like you said, the wood is very important on this map. The moment you have that wood prowess, it feels so good. Yes, what happened, Crackety? What happened?
Look at the age-up choice here from Louis. We're seeing Bazaar coming in.
That is quite bizarre. Oh my gosh.
We're celebrating first time ever semi-final EGC tournament. We see Tradewing Bazaar coming in ever. And we see at the same time also a dock coming up. But this is a weird one. This is a weird one. So Bazaar is very interesting because the way this works, I gotta explain, just because we see this so rarely. The Bazaar gives you multiple random options to invest gold into to get some return resources or return units. You can get traders, you can get some unique units in as well. There's the skirmisher, you can get the... What were the names again? They weren't called... Yeah, you barely see them at all. But you can get like a very tanky melee unit in as well. You can trade out for stone, gold, food, traders. Very random. And these tickets, they do regenerate every now and then, so you're able to continuously trade out time and time again.
Now, VortiX seems to be going water. Fully, because you can see him instantly getting a military ship as well. Let's see what the Gamba has given him. Bedouin swordsman.
Oh, we're seeing the Bedouin skirmishers coming in. So
yes.
The Bedouin skirmishers, stat-wise, they are an anti-infantry unit. They aren't like javelin throwers. They don't have an insane amount of ranged armor. I do believe they have 1 ranged armor. They do bonus damage to all infantry. I'm not sure. Can we actually quickly check? Was it all infantry or all melee infantry specifically as they are making their way across? It is all light infantry. Okay, so that should also apply to archers. So they're going to be doing bonus damage to spearmen and archers. VortiX, with Julius Legacy, he's going to need horsemen against them. But right now, this is just very nice to have a relatively cheap aggressive unit here that he can use in order to harass on the gold, as we do see villagers making their way over to gold right now. Does Louis spot this? He does see it. Look at the line of sight on these units. They're seeing this one immediately, and now VortiX realizes, oh wait, my opponent's a gambling addict.
And this is definitely not something you could have foretold. It's something nobody gets to practice against. Now, even though Zushi's legacy gets shut down on gold here, he should be okay with those taxes coming on in, but the Jigunu is the weapon of choice here. He also got stopped from putting that dock up on the bottom side. Now, this could have been a stop, or it could be a decision he's made as well. Because, of course, you don't want to invest this much wood when you need to be investing it in your base on an archery range to try and stop these Gamba units coming towards you. But this just means that Louis has this side for free. And he has 3 docks on this side already. This means he's just going to keep making fishing ships, and he's going to be very comfortable in his little lake. While VortiX on the other side, he only has 1 dock that he's producing from, and this just is not going to be the same type of economy for him, because he's making those reactionary units. Now, at the same time, with the tower coming up on gold, ladies and gents, I hope you're ready. This would mean, with that amount of villagers on gold, that we're going to be seeing a fast castle coming on in here for Louis. And VortiX, honestly, with the civilization he's on, he should be able to do a little bit of pressure and punish him if he's going to try and be that greedy.
Yeah, VortiX did choose to go for the Jugunu. They're not quite as fast, they don't have as much range as these Bedouin skirmishers, and Louis, he's answering with his own stable. So for the most part, I won't say the Desert Raider isn't going to be able to do too much against the Jugunu. The Horseman definitely will be able to do something, though.
Now, I do get called out in chat there and remembering that this is the Gamba wing and they do need gold for that as well. So, yes.
It's not free real estate.
Unfortunately. I remember the days when the economy was just so good and they weren't even that expensive. I remember playing Avids back in the day. That was absolutely disgusting. But with the amount of Jugunu on the map, this does feel pretty scary already, though. Now, those camels are creating a little bit of a presence here, right? We've got the horseman now in Q2. And VortiX, though, he's just making more Jugunu. He feels confident in these boys. Yeah?
He got siege engineering. He's making a ram. He's going for a ram push. We do now also have more Bedouin skirmishers, some Bedouin swordsmen coming in as well. And Louis, if he gets a little bit more gold, he can get another pack of these Bedouin swordsmen in as well. They have a lot of armor. And not a lot of armor, actually. I have a lot of health. They have a lot of health. They're tanky health pool-wise. They don't have any armor, I believe. Or very little. But yeah, Louis, because of this investment, VortiX, he sees the amount of villagers on gold. Of course, he believes that his opponent, Louis, is just trying to go for the cheeky age up here. But that's just not the case. He does see the military units now, and he realizes, wait, he's been investing into the Bedouin units. It's not that he's going up to Castle Age. He's getting military units out for gold. That's just not something that you can really anticipate here. So suddenly, VortiX's read on the situation proves to be wrong and puts him in a whole lot of trouble, potentially.
What I love to see here is he went out here because he was trying to shut this down. He knows he needs to shut down that gold. For him, if he thought, hey, maybe this is going to be castle, I need to shut down, ensure he doesn't get all the upgrades he wants. But he also reinvested in another scout. And this is quite important, because having a scout here is key, because you need to know exactly what your opponent is doing. He's been flying blind since he's lost his. Now, it does look like there are some units going out here on the back, but the scout does spot them, and more Jugunu coming on in. Now, he did get +1, and this is going to mean that those Jugunu, they do tickle a little bit harder than usual. And even against any unit with armor, he should be alright. But now floating a lot of food, because there's just not enough gold to keep producing these Jugunu. We do see that he's gone onto the other side. The Jugunu now in pretty good mass here. You don't want to be taking a fight against these. The horsemen are a bit cheeky, but he does get +1 range defense now. Louis does need to be careful here that he doesn't take a bad engagement against this mass, because once those Jugunu are in a big enough mass, it gets so difficult to shut them down. But that scout, he might be in some danger. He doesn't overcommit, though.
And now Louis, he's really committing to more and more horsemen as he sees that VortiX currently is making only, and I mean only, Jugunus. This is the classic Jugunu all-in push that we see from the Juji's legacy. Up against Louis here. Is this going to work out, though? Louis, he completely pulled off of gold at this point in time. Never mind, he just switched over to the other gold side. And VortiX did the same thing. But it looked like Louis for a second would be going over there. Does move back though. Has the outpost there to protect himself. As the Raider gets taken down. But yeah, at the moment, like Louis still has definitely very, very active gold gathering. VortiX behind this. He will want to go for the age up. I think he might lose his entire military before that, as Louis is starting to collapse on his army here.
He knows that this army is split, and those horsemen, they probably have a pretty good chance right now. The Jugunu, they're going to trade okay. But you can see him target firing. He really needs to take down as many units as possible while he loses these guys. You do see that he brings the rest of his army there from the bottom as well, but it does look like they turned around. They realize that these Jugunu are cooked, and he does need to keep the rest of his army alive. Both of these players now looking straight at Castle Age, and this feels like a pretty slippery slope here, because the Jugunu mass is so important to keep full, especially against the amount of units we will be seeing here from Louis now. Louis is spending a little bit of extra food to get that extra scout out, and we'll see if he's going to be, what he's going to be aging up with here. Is this a position where you go military or eco, Brackety? Military, right?
both works in theory. You can decide for both. You could also go for the logistics wing just so you're able to keep up with the relic gathering. But it's going to be military wing reinforcement here. That means that he's going to be able to spawn 3 desert raiders every 1.5 minutes at this point with the age up. That's going to be quite nice for him. Villager on the shoreline is going to get picked off. Age up very early, very quickly coming in for VortiX, thanks to that bonus on the Juji's Legacy, being able to get these buildings up very, very quickly. Looks like the dog is going to get burnt down, though, so VortiX very quickly going for the drop-off there on the ships, wants to make sure that he's getting as much food in as possible. Knights now also coming in, so he's going to have a nice frontline unit here protecting these Jugunu. Louis now also actively investing into these Desert Raiders. As long as VortiX keeps an active, or rather a normal, good amount of Jugunu up, he's going to be able to deal with the Desert Raiders. The issue is once Camel Lances also are getting mixed in.
And getting those Camel Lances to actually die will be quite hard. Because with that amount of gold that you have in the bank, you get to decide whatever you feel like, whatever unit you feel like, and whichever upgrades as well. So this does feel like a pretty good position here for Mr. Louis. We do see the horseman trying to find some damage here. That tower is going to be able to protect the villagers, but the Imperial official does pay the price. And those towers, they don't hit too hard. They do shoot little cannons, but the cannons are not going to be enough of this. He does have to pull the villagers from the back here as well. We see villagers moving over to the water there too. He is careful, and he realizes how dangerous this can be. But these lances, they're providing a great front line for now, and also a sense of security. But if VortiX overextends yet again, he's not going to be able to remake that army.
Yeah, looks like VortiX is about to pick off some villagers, though, as they jump out of that outpost. Behind this, Louis, he went very, very crazy on water. He's thoroughly ahead when it comes to the economy, to the income at the moment. So VortiX, he is definitely on a timing behind this. Lots of upgrades are going to be coming in now for Louis, as he did have a lot of gold upon aging up. We're seeing a ton of Camel Lances immediately in queue for him. And upgrades coming in as well. +2 Pierce Armor, very important up against those Jugunu. And this Louis still just looking for raiding opportunities. And the 3 Desert Raiders that have come in are going to be able to deal with these Castle Age Knights even before the Veterancy upgrade comes in on them. So VortiX is going to have to run away here, at least for the time being. Jugunu still looking for damage potential. They don't have their +2 damage upgrade, though, so yeah, I feel like VortiX might still need to be very careful here. He is not ahead when it comes to the military count at the moment at all.
He's playing like he is, though. This man thinks that he is going to be able to take this fight, but this army is so scary. And you can see they're going straight for the Jugunu. This mass is about to get cleaned up so quickly. The knights, or they're trying their best. But Crackety, these guys are melting. And you can see the Jugunu, they're not even trying to kite right now. They know that they're in danger here. Gonna try to get Camel or 2 to fall, but we see that army value, the numbers, everything is falling apart, and VortiX realizes, I may have overstepped here, underestimating how much investment there was on the water here from Louis. And even though Louis is not the man who prefers water maps, he definitely knows how to play one.
Yeah, able to pull ahead now on a water map up against VortiX, definitely very well executed. And just looking at the economy count, as you said, loueMT, just a lot more investment on that water. And it's a very unorthodox play, right? With the Gambler Wing, not something that we typically see on Iobits on this map at all. I think VortiX, he just didn't really know how to counter this one out, didn't know how to react to this one. In the first game, we saw VortiX going for the perfect reaction to the play from Louis. In this one, it really didn't quite feel like he had that much of a plan on how to counter this one out. And now at this point in time, like with the unorthodox strategies from Louis, I think VortiX, he's reacting in turn. I think on Gorge, he might have wanted to pick a different civilization, something like JD or French, but instead whips out the Byzantines here up against the Malians from Louis.
Now, getting Byzantines against Malians, I think a lot of people have some pretty standard play styles when it comes to Malians. But when you go with Malians, it's so easy to greed out a little bit. And I feel like Louis, he's been showing us he knows when to greed. At the same time, VortiX playing a civilization such as Byzantines, we know that how Byzantines can just be completely overwhelming for anyone on Malians when those ramps start coming out. Louis, he's shown us exactly, he knows when to stop. He knows when to back off, and he's been doing it perfectly here. Now, I want to just point out the fact that we saw the Gamba wing coming on out. Louis, it felt like he knew what he was doing. It feels like he's practiced this. And VortiX, he's never seen the Gamba wing in this scenario, because with the reaction from both of these players, you can see where their comfort lied. And now, is this going to be something we see from Malians as well? Do we see a Farimba? Do we see cows coming out and just being the priority here? Does VortiX try to kill him in feudal? There's just so many options here, but I think a big indicator here is going to be the gold spawn. The gold spawn does make this quite juicy if you start to get control of one side of the map, if all the gold veins are centered there.
I'm not 100% too sure about that, because Byzantines, they've got their own agency here. They've got their own game plan, and it's all about getting those cisterns up and running, because your economy on 1 TC with Byzantines rivals any civilization on 2 TC. Or in this instance, for example, on cow boom or pit mines or whatnot. I think VortiX, he can just be happy with a couple of units, get a couple of mercenary units out, just bide his time for the castle age up. And once you get that Golden Horn Tower with 5 cisterns in, you just produce so many units that you're able to outmass the Malian cattle food economy, or just pretty much anything that Mali can really throw at you. So I think it's more up to Mali here, actually, in order to make something happen. Not Byzantines have to react to Malians, it's Malians have to react to Byzantines.
I'm actually so happy to hear that, guys. I hope you're making notes right now, because this kind of inspires me. I didn't think about it that way. I think a lot of us, when we see Byzantines, it feels like a civilization that needs a while to get going. But at the same time, so does Malians. It's not a civ that you see instantly in your face, instantly in your base, unless they're going for some early scout shenanigans, which is definitely not something you'll see against the civ that also wants to bide that time. I feel like we might be making notes. Crackety, I'm going to be making notes at least, because for me, this is a matchup that I have never truly figured out which could be favored and who sets the pace of the game. Now, Byzantines though, I do think the fact that they get to do the rock, paper, scissors and they get to dictate what the response is from Malians does make this a little bit slippery. So if VortiX does get ahead, it feels pretty tough to come back from that. But we've been seeing some pretty crazy stuff from Byzantines recently as well.
Yeah, I think maybe we could even see just some early aggression from the Malians. You really want to put a dampener up on Biz as quickly as possible. But it is now time for us to jump into game number 4. Louis right now, he is leading. He is ahead 2-1 at the moment on the scoreboard. VortiX here with the Byzantines in the color red. And look at this opening already that we do see out here from VortiX. He's on the berries, and he is going to be going for a hippodrome play from the looks of it. And this is an interesting shift in the meta at the moment, or not really in the meta, but like in the way that people scale the economy as the Byzantines, because no longer is it all about that grand winery, no longer is it all about the initial wave of olive oil. Players at the moment are just playing so much into the cistern scaling, with getting up to 5 cisterns as quickly as possible. They have realized that the only thing that the Grand Winery really gives you is a better timing on the first mercenary pack that you're getting out. And they're also allowing you to get a second mercenary pack in from the very first berry patch. But just scaling with the cisterns, it's just so much more efficient long term. 26% bonus gather rate and all the bonuses on your production building, research and whatnot. It is so much more worthwhile, and you can just also go for the hippodrome instead. Get some stronger horsemen in with some healing.
So with the latest patch, we know that the hippodrome does feel a little bit safer to go for, because your horses now do give you a little bit more value when they get a villager kill or two. Now, with this, I don't think Louis is the kind of guy who will lose any vills, but it does produce a bit of a reactionary play that is going to cost Malians quite a bit and does delay their eco a bit. Because every production building you force Malians to make just ensures that Malians' boom goes a little bit slower. Now, Byzantines, we can now see floating a little bit of stone here, though. I mean, usually we see a level 2 cistern coming out at this point, but VortiX, he's holding... Oh, never mind. He may have forgotten for a second there. I was like, is this man cooking something else? Because the other option here would have been to get a second TC, but yes, that takes such a long time to actually get going. So VortiX now getting that second sister and ensuring that that eco is boosted, and we can understand that this is going to be a well-predicted game from here on out. Now Louis does get a bit of sheep. I don't think that's a lot for Malians at this point, especially because with Malians, it's quite tough to constantly pump out those units. Now, he does still have the other side that he does get to scout. So, luckily for him, we do have a pretty even, I say even split, but no. VortiX has snacked quite a bit. There are still a few up for grabs, though. So, with Malians, though, shutting down that food, especially in the early game, I think is the most important. Hippodrome coming on out.
Just forcing them in general into some sort of play around food, either out on the map or investing into cattle, definitely helps you just reducing their tempo a good bit. And there it is, Imperial Hippodrome coming in. VortiX also soon going to be able to drop that that third cistern. And yeah, he's once again just found a lot of sheep over on his side. So definitely has to be a game where VortiX is really feeling good about what he's been able to achieve so far when it comes to the sheep count. Look at that, 18 live sheep for him. That's 3,600 food. That's enough for him to reach Castle Age and produce a whole lot of units safely underneath his TC, with a lot of bonus gather rate as well.
And the thing is, if he does produce any units, he's already just going to be able to go out on the rest of the map and do whatever he wants. If that includes some berry play, it would be very nice to see. But now we do see a production building instantly coming on out, and it's going to be a stable. So, cows already being built. Stable is out. Crackety, are we just seeing a quick cattle boom?
Quick cattle boom and sofas or warrior scouts in order to deal with the horsemen? This is an interesting kind of play. I mean, you can just use the warrior scouts to try and have an active mobile unit around there. It's a weird one. It's honestly a weird situation right now. We're seeing warrior scouts up against hippodrome horsemen. For the most part, I want to say hippodrome horsemen can just ignore the warrior scouts for the most part and go after villagers instead. But with the upgrade already in, Louis is going to be able to force a reaction here on the berries. VortiX, does he realize that the upgrade is in? He does. Is going to pull the first villager back now, and he's got enough olive oil now to get a mercenary pack out as well, so nothing that he needs to be too afraid of. Akratoy is coming out. He knows that he doesn't really need it for anything else at the moment, so can just use it to get some damage in on the warrior scout. Not that it really matters, because he's just going to regenerate all the health back.
And the second one coming on out now here at the front of the berries. This does feel a little bit slippery, because those villagers taking good damage, and again, once they do get this low, they do get a little bit easier to pick off. But both of these players, they're not very good at losing villagers. Pretty fast on the reactions and ensuring that the opponent has to take some unfavorable trades. But Louis now going for a little bit of a sofa play here, 2 double broadaxe coming on in as well. Prioritizing a little bit of an upgrade here between all those cows, as we now see 3 cows already in their pens. So this is already going to give a tiny bit of a boost to that food economy. VortiX, though, he is already, I think, on his 4th cistern. So this is a pretty good economy to have already at that point. And he's ready with the 5th, too. Crackety. This is a good economy for them. Oh, no, I mean,
he's got the stone for it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got enough stone for a 5th. I think he might want to just extend it towards another berry patch here. We're now seeing mercenaries come in as well. Double horsemen working here for him at the moment. Still needs to be a little bit careful, though, as Louis does have a couple more of them out at the moment. He didn't, of course, invest into these cisterns, but these will very quickly pay for themselves. Harassment coming in from that sofa. He just needs to wait a little bit longer for these longbows to arrive, but he doesn't want to have his villagers on the berries idle at this point in time, so he's just going to try and take the fight around the villagers, where at any one point in time he could just pull them to assist in a fight. And now with a longbowman, he's going to be able to have enough units out here to just force Louis back over to his side of the map.
And Louis getting a few more sofas in here does feel pretty slippery, because we know what a sofa can do. And yes, there used to be a rule, don't make feudal age sofas. But when you've got this type of economy behind it already, we see the food per minute already at 630, and now VortiX is going to need to go over onto, I was going to say over onto the sheep, but no, this man feels pretty confident. He's going out on the map. Does he know that he's up against this many so far? Because horsemen, they might not be the answer to that amount, at least.
Yeah. It used to be that sofas were not that good in Feudal Age, but they actually got a pretty massive buff. Plus 5 HP, plus 1 damage in Feudal Age as well. Now we do see the collapse on the villagers there on the gold. Akratoy is getting activated for some bonus armor here on the retreat. In return, VortiX not gonna lose any villagers over there. He moved out with his sister in level 5 now onto the berries in order to get even more mercenaries in, because he doesn't get the second mercenary pack from the first berry patch, just due to not going for the Grand Winery. And Louis, he just keeps checking time and time again, sees, did the villagers come back? And when they did, they would pounce there. Right now, VortiX, he's still just biding his time around the second berry patch, as his horsemen roaming around, just waiting for more mercenaries to come in.
Getting these horses out on the map is so important, but at the same time, when you move them out, this can happen. Quickly getting on top of the longbows, which is massive. The villagers do get pulled towards the horses. Horses activating that ability, and they are just healing up, taking on these sofas swimmingly. We see them breaking through these sofas. Villagers trying to do their work while all of this is happening. Sofas target firing some of these sofas at least, target firing the vills. Villagers are fighting back. 2 of them already going down. Now, the horseman numbers, though, does not look that good.
Yeah, it looks like there just weren't enough of them there. Even with Triumph, the Sofa, the buffs, they just really worked quite nicely here. For Louis and VortiX, he just holds it immediately. He did just get Limitani out, but felt like he just didn't have enough of them out in time. Triumph just ending a little bit too early here for him as well. But yeah, GG getting cold in this one. That means that Louis is now going to be 3-1 on the scoreboard. Military value lead just extending a little bit too much. Maybe VortiX just felt like he lost a little bit too much against the cattle economy as well. This means that, yeah, Louis, he's going to be on a very early match point now.
This happened so quickly, and Louis showing us he knew exactly how to deal with Byzantines, trying to get their eco going, and to do so, he just needed to make a mobile unit that can handle horses, which went pretty well. And I think with the fact that VortiX was still making horses behind this against such a big Sofa army, later adding in the Limitane maybe just was not the call in that scenario. But again, this feels like Louis has practiced this matchup a significant amount of time. And maybe VortiX just has not seen that type of response, because your usual response is, hey, I need donzos. But when you make donzos, the response is, oh, look at my longbows. So it just feels like Louis already calculated that, and he knew exactly what he needed to do to shut this down pretty quickly. But Crackety, English was not on my bingo card for Persian marshes, honestly. English was not on my bingo card. So, Persian marshes with Lancaster and English. This does feel like
yeah.
It feels like VortiX, he's got the better pick here, right? Right?
This is an interesting one, just because this matchup is coming in so rarely, right? Because English, sure, they don't have manners, but they also benefit a lot from being untouched for the first 10 minutes of a game. If we see something like, I want to say, the early Fast Castle Age from House of Lancaster with Earl's Guard play, I'm not sure how well that's going to work against English, who do have access to a longbowman unit, which is able to penetrate through a lot of armor relatively early on, even when being an age behind. At the same time, though, Earl's Guards do quite well with more movement speed, with a range attack, so just pitching up the units against each other, it's an interesting one. English Mad-Arms also +2 armor. You got the aura, of course. It's just a matchup that you don't typically see. So I'm just right now thinking about all the different implications here that you've got going, right? Like, English 2TC for the most part should be pretty much unpunished from the manor play from the House of Lancaster. VortiX with House of Lancaster, I would expect to be a little bit more aggressive overall. And you do have access to the Hobbler, which does have +1 pierce armor compared to +1 pierce damage on the longbows. Maybe there's a play into Abbey of Kings from the House of Lancaster that VortiX could be going for. We did see that come in from Numedan at one point during this tournament. It's an interesting one. I can't honestly really call the game plan at the moment for either of these two players, just because this matchup just comes in so rarely. And honestly, I've not seen it before, neither on ladder nor in tournament play.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a lot of English in tournament play, but Lancaster, it's been a regular, and it's been a regular on this map too. So I see in chat that a lot of people are saying English 2TC, Manners, we'll see who prevails, but honestly, I think someone did the math on them, and Manners do well for a significant portion of time longer until that 2TC eco kicks in. So I guess it depends on who can actually do damage to the other and slow down that little bit of a boom that will be on either side. But guys, we're going on in. It's Manners versus, I guess, just English. English, the plague of the ladder. We've seen this time and time again, but now in a little bit of a different spot from before. Yeah, pause there. Oh, there we go. We're back.
Louis at the moment, this is now match point, already 3 points for him on the scoreboard. He just needs to win one more in order to get past the semifinals into the grand finals, where he will face off either against Marine Lord or Anatan. We will be looking at that set after this one. But VortiX, he's not done yet. He is still in this one, and we're seeing him on the House of Lancaster here. And this is going to be on Frisian Marshes. Everything's even when it comes to the spawns here between these two, so no real discrepancy there. And this could just be, I mean, I want to say a slow start to the game, a boomy type game. That's also not something that we really know VortiX for, so maybe there's going to be a little bit of variation. Maybe we're going to see something like an Abbey of Kings coming out from VortiX with the Lords of Lancaster. And just buffing up his army and going for an early timing push up against the English.
Now, I absolutely love the fact that he's got a pretty sneaky position here for that spicy little landmark he's about to put down if we're not going to be seeing some king play. But getting a stone and a gold in that protective range would be quite nice, as the wood is also just right back there. Which means that Louis is going to struggle to punish that and slow it down. So he does go for it, Lancaster Castle, right on top of that gold and stone, which is going to mean that he is not going to have to be worried about anything. But Louis, he's getting ready for that second TC play, and we will finally have the answer that nobody has asked for. English 2TC, or House of Lancaster, teaching them a few manners.
Yeah, definitely not the question anybody has been asking here. To be fair, like, English 2TC, when it comes to boomy type plays, it's great. Absolutely great. You totally get obliterated by any pro scout civilization, by any active pro scout civilization. But if you're up against a slower type play from your opponent, you're fine. You're honestly fine. You're gonna be having like a really competitive castle age timing. Your economy on the farms, which by the way have been buffed quite heavily, I want to say, recently, early on, up to castle age from the English. I'm not sure why exactly they did that. Instead of just making English more competitive in the current meta, they made it so that English is better at the things that they're already really strong at. Yeah, I mean, in this situation, like, English is, they're playing to their strengths. They're playing to their strengths right now in a meta where typically they don't play to their strengths. So even though English is not a highly traded civ at the moment, in this situation, they can be looking quite well.
And we've seen English late game. They just do not die. The thing is, House of Lancaster, same thing, right? It's a civilization that also flourishes the moment it gets to mid to late. But Louis now getting that abbey with only 2 is going to mean that that king is not going to be able to do any work anytime soon. Well, VortiX, on the other hand, gets his feudal age pretty quickly and will be going onto the stone with those villages as well. Now, that second TC timing from Louis, I'm so excited to see how quickly he gets that click up as the stone is already pouring on in. He did not go for the straggler trees, though. And I've seen a lot of people min-max that from back in the day. But only 4 on stone means that he is not rushing anywhere. VortiX is aware, Louis is aware. They've been scouting each other very thoroughly, as we can see now. He's tanking a little bit deeper too to just understand exactly what is cooking. but this is a pretty standard early game, and we won't be seeing any crazy shenanigans following up with this. So, scouts just keeping an eye, splitting up the deer luring, not what it used to be, but ensuring that those deer are not going to be the prime spot for the second TC. It's a pretty strong move to pull here.
To be fair, I think Louis probably just going to place the second TC on his gold anyways, just have a nice spot over there between the gold and the wood line, maybe even in front of the Abbey of Kings. Now, there it is, right there next between the gold and the wood line, looking very nicely there for him. VortiX, just judging by how many villagers he had on stone, I believe VortiX is going for a fast castle H play. He's not going to be going for any additional manors past those first 3. Because if that was his plan, he would have gathered some gold for the upgrade. I think instead he's about to rally all of his villagers either back to gold, or we're going to start seeing some production buildings for feudal age play. I don't think he's going to be going for more than 3 manors. He's still on stone.
Frankly, you're jinxing it right now. I feel like
we're gonna see a second TC. We're gonna see 3 manors, 2 TC.
Oh my gosh. Frankly, are you sure about this? Because
No.
that would be the spiciest type of play we've ever seen coming out of VortiX right now. Just greed upon greed upon greed, and I'm here for it. That king, though, he gets to dive. He gets to cause a little bit of idle time. Go back, heal up, do the same thing again. So, that does feel a little expensive to do. Villagers here fighting back, though. The scout body blocking, but the scout may pay the price. He does pull back just in time. That king gonna go right back to base, heal up, and do the same thing again.
I mean, right now in the current situation for VortiX, this is cook or get cooked, but is he the lobster or is he the chef in this situation? Looks like he did actually pull off the stone a little bit early. Now he's going to be going for the fast castle age macro behind this. He does have 600 wood in the bank, though. Maybe he's deciding for a 6-manor play now after all. I think he saw that Louis saw how much stone he had gathered and how little gold he had gathered by comparison. So I think he's just intentionally changing his macro, his game plan right now, to go into the more meta-type play after having been caught out a little bit on his game plan there.
Now, Louis is trying to idle as much as he can, but with that king, you can't really do much against this. There is still a pretty big building firing at you, and those villages are extra spicy. You can see VortiX perfectly microing his vills as well to just negate some of the damage. Louis, though, does what English does best and builds farms. Ladies and gentlemen, we're seeing farms on English. I don't know if anyone expected this, but I'm really glad we could all be here together to watch that, but that just means infinite food for a very long time. The second set of manors now coming on in, and we'll see what that eco is going to be looking like, because that's a lot of villagers still on gold, and it doesn't look like they're getting pulled off anytime soon. Oh, as I say that, a few of them are building that extra manor, and we'll see if they're going to go back onto a little bit more.
Yeah, VortiX, I'm not sure if he's going to go for the, rally the nobles. I think instead, just judging by how much food he still has in the bank, I believe he's going to immediately be looking for the age up as quickly as possible. So I believe, just judging from the current macro, that we are going to be seeing a White Tower Earl's Guard push up against Louis. Louis currently, he's 7 villagers ahead, but we do have 3, about to be 6 manors up from VortiX. So income-wise, VortiX is going to be ahead at least for the time being. Louis, though, with great macro, is trying to get up to Castle Age as quickly as possible. And typically, with the English, in this situation with 2 TC, that's going to be a White Tower out of him as well. And unlike House of Lancaster, he does have the option with his White Tower to actively produce units out of it at an accelerated rate.
And those units, it just makes it so much easier, because you don't need to focus on getting production buildings that cost a lot of wood of investment. If you want siege, if you want crossbows, if you want knights, they're all going to come out of that beautiful landmark, while on the other side, VortiX will need to invest himself, and he has not invested in anything just yet, which makes a lot of sense, but the villagers are spicy again, and just hitting back towards that king. Both of these players about to click up to the next age, and honestly, I'm just surprised at how perfectly timed this is for both of them. The villagers now moving towards the wood line here, and I was going to say, if this is a King's College, and it is a King's College, oh my gosh, crackety. King's College in this economy? against
that's an
English?
interesting one. I'm surprised by the King's College, not surprised by the White Tower. But that's a really good White Tower spot. They're already securing the next gold, securing a lot of area around it for more farms around it as well. And I guess it makes sense, because VortiX in this situation, like, he's not really going to be able to do a lot against this. We're seeing double stable as well. So I guess VortiX is going to hammer out knights against this now, try and collect relics. Issue is Louis already has the counter out. 7 spearmen for him at the moment. His economy is looking very nice. He's actually got a lot more food income at the moment compared to VortiX already. Yeah, this is... I'm not sure if VortiX game plan is gonna really work here.
Now, VortiX's plan is knights instantly queuing up those and getting another manor expansion. Crackety. This man, he's just mannering his heart out. The thing is just... I feel like Louis has a pretty good answer to most of what he wants to do. Already the White Tower is an answer. Walls, a wonderful answer. And he's yelling this answer from the skies. And not just any walls, those are some wham walls he's got there, getting every corner of his base, ensuring that nobody shall pass. So these knights, they are going to struggle doing a bit of damage here. 2 already out on the field, and now Louis gets his own. But keep in mind, guys, those knights from Louis, they're going to be able to go back and heal up if they do take any damage.
It's true, at the same time, VortiX Knight with the Color of S's, once he researches that, they're going to be able to do a lot more damage up against the knights from Louis. He's going to need a lot of them, though, if he wants to really contest these relics out on the map. We do see the first monk coming in. Knights from VortiX are trying to find some damage there. The only thing they're going to find, though, realistically, is going to be that White Tower. And in the Stealth Forest he goes. Oh, he's about to be finding a whole lot of spearmen there. Is going to be able to get away, though. That was a close one. I could have easily seen him lose that knight there. He's just pumping out more and more knights, but he just saw just how many of these spears his opponent has. But with the 9th mana going up, we could be seeing a switch up with the Muster Nobles, where suddenly VortiX is going to get a lot more cavalry units in and a big meat shield here to take... That's some interesting pathing. To take a way better engagement up against VortiX. Man, the melee brain sometimes on these units.
They just want to do as much damage as possible at the cost of their lives. But the problem is now, there's a lot of manors here, right? They're doing great in terms of bringing in some economy. But English 2 TC, if you look at the food per minute, the wood per minute, he's just able to keep up with VortiX. And Collar of S is now being researched, more knights in the queue. So even though he's got the King's College, he's getting those upgrades for just a little bit cheaper. This is going to be a lot harder to do with the English economy, because the English is just able to replenish these units. He's got unlimited food in those farms. And the King, he's going to keep healing these units up. He's going to be able to move out on the map. Louis has the decision to make here. And he's going to decide how aggressive he wants to be. With all those spearmen as well, he can leave a few in his base to deal with these knights and instantly respond when he tries to attack and get through a wall.
Yeah, not just that. With this many units out on the field in general, he's going to be able to really lock down every single relic here. Now, VortiX has been able to bring 1 relic back, just courtesy of getting the age up in a little bit quicker, having a lot more wood courtesy of the manors upon reaching age up, so he got the monastery out quicker. But now it's Louis' turn. And we are seeing the Shire Levy coming in. So VortiX is going to be getting a good amount of Yeomen very quickly, and with those archers, he's going to be able to take some great engagements up against the spearmen that Louis has been massing up so far behind this. Second relic now also on its way for Louis. Nah, Monkey's not in his comfort zone there, as he does get picked off. Knights are trying to find a way into the economy from Louis. He's just going to pull some villagers there in order to counter-repair there at the gate, trying to hold the door, so to say. And the reinforcement spearmen will be there in time to greet him. Shire Levy now coming in. Suddenly, a large amount of Yeomen hit the field.
And that is pretty massive, because now he's just making more and more, getting +1 as well to ensure that he can handle these. But now horsemen being mixed in here too. Now this is probably one of the better moves to make, because when you know your units are going to be handling their direct counter, horsemen are going to do pretty well against this too. Getting +1 range defense, he knew this was coming. and he is prepared. Now, again, eco is already better for English, and this starts to feel pretty snowbally here, because with House of Lancaster, we've seen House of Lancaster make some pretty insane plays, and they're able to go Imperial behind all of these things. But now, Louis is just going to keep making units. He's going to sit back behind those farms, keep making units, and try to wait for the right moment. I say that. And VortiX is getting siege at the front of the base, getting a trebuchet already queued up. He's looking for the kill. He knows this is a second TC. There's a little bit of a window here, and he hasn't been able to find any damage.
I'm a little bit surprised that we don't have Muscle Nobles at this point in time yet for VortiX. He could definitely use them. Never mind, they're coming in right now, so we'll be having a lot of Demi-Lancers soon join the fray. Trebuchet coming up behind us. He just wants to get a big static push going up against Louis. Does have a good army count at the moment. Horsemen will take a while to mass up, but as you said, loueMT, with the amount of food income that Louis has at the moment, they'll come in sooner rather than later. I think maybe VortiX could also use some Springles, honestly, against just the raw amount of spearmen that are there. Currently, he's got a great amount of army value. Granted, it's not as strong as it looks because the Demi-Lancers are actually being counted as a 240 value unit. They're not worth 240 resources.
I'll just say that about Lances, Crackety. They have feelings too. Those knights, though, they're looking for connection. Yeomen running back between those knights, perfectly timed here. Those spearmen do need to be careful. And the White Tower is just providing that perfect level of defense so that VortiX is not able to engage. But it doesn't feel like Louis has an answer to this just yet. Or maybe he just says, my answer is more spears and more horses. And
yeah, but VortiX spotted that. VortiX spotted the mass amount of horsemen, and we're seeing triple barracks now coming up here at the front line. 2 trebuchets are going to be enough to slowly but surely take down that White Tower there. VortiX is expanding out on the map, is getting the deer in, so we'll be getting food rather quickly. As long as Louis can't get any big successful raids in and VortiX able to keep him pinned inside of his base, this push is looking not bad for VortiX at all.
He feels confident about it too. With those barracks this far forward, with the houses this far forward, he feels like this is the push that he uses to win the game. And he's now getting upgrades behind this, eco upgrades. And until now, I did not expect this gold vein running out now for Louis as well. So this is the moment, and he does get a connection. That's a lot of spears to be fighting into. The yeomen are trying their best, but they're also a little bit of a front line right now, so that these horses don't go down instantly. It does look like a pretty dirty fight as those spearmen are just working their way through. The yeomen are not enough. Moment, Crackety. Where's this gonna go?
Knights are falling back, trying to protect the trebuchets as horsemen are getting rallied onto them. Spearman count still looking strong. A lot of them went down, but there's still so many more coming in. It feels like the spearman play was just a little bit too late here, potentially from VortiX. Still has a lot of knights, still has a good amount of yeomen alive in order to keep one-shotting out these spearmen. There's not that many horsemen left at this point in time. More spearmen now in queue, still 2 trebuchets alive. King goes down from the English, once again rallying onto the trebuchets. Louis tries to snipe them out. Still alive yet. But the army count, it's going down from both players, and the last trebuchet, it's getting sniped out now as well. VortiX, he's losing his siege. The White Tower is still alive behind it all. And Louis, he still has a better economy at the end of the day. 40 more villagers at this point. VortiX, he's got to reproduce the trebuchets. He's lost the tempo, momentum from the Shire Levy, from the Muscle Nobles. He cannot get them in again. He does have a solid amount of spearmen in, but Louis is now making longbowmen as well.
And getting those longbows in, this is going to make a massive difference, because you are under the White Tower. You can snipe those spears that kind of changed the tide of the game for this last one, but VortiX committing just a little bit too far forward here with those spearman production buildings, just waiting just a few seconds too long before getting some actual work done. The thing is now, Louis is on limited gold here. So yes, he's got the food, he's got the wood, and the units from Food and Gold, Food and Wood, they've been doing really, really well, but the gold numbers might start mattering soon here as well. He does have 3 relics, and this feels pretty good when you need that little bit of a gold boost. But that second gold is all the way out there on the map, and 2 more trebuchets are going to be firing down upon you, though. And when I look at the food numbers, Crackety, I think VortiX is in a lot of danger right now. This is not looking good if you are trying to replenish your army. With the production buildings behind this, ooh, he's in a good spot.
Horseman raid now coming in on the food economy from VortiX. Is he going to realize that in time? We do look over there as the veteran horsemen are starting to pick off some of the villages here, are going to go down. VortiX, who's already behind a ton of villages at this point in time. These losses aren't really something that he can afford. We're getting more upgrades in at the moment. Bill Hook as well on the spearmen. He does have a good amount of them out on the field. Not many more horsemen at the moment coming in for Louis, but with his food income at any point in time, he could definitely reinvest into them. He did just have a scout out there, just checking what the military composition from his opponent was in the stealth forest after the remass. Still, horsemen trying to find more villager kills here are going to find them for the most part as well. So very successful raid here with the remaining horsemen. It's 1, 2, 3 relics behind all of this. So even though Louis is pinned inside of his base, he does have enough gold access to afford the upgrades that he needed on the longbows. And now men-at-arms coming in as well. I don't think he's got armor clad or anything like that, but once he gets it in, there's not really a counter unit for VortiX out on the field at all.
And this is a pretty cheap gold unit to make, so with those 3 relics he should be able to afford these, constantly producing. Synchronized shot coming on in though, and that is going to be able to change the tides a little bit. We do see that these units being produced at the front though, they are limited edition, as I would say. And it looks like there's a little bit of a raid from VortiX trying to make his way through, but the problem is just there's 6 million spearmen waiting for him. And while the White Tower is now under the final siege, it does feel like this is going to be a game-deciding fight. It does go down though. This might be the moment, but the problem is they still have the influence from the tower. These units are still inspired and going to be firing a lot harder. You see men-at-arms getting their very unique upgrades soon as well. Now, synchronized shot not in just yet.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Louis, he's 200 population. That means that he can start trading out units as he needs to make room for the reinforcements. Knights now coming in as well from him. I'm surprised that VortiX didn't attack the second TC with the trebuchets. At this point in time, Louis is just way ahead in the village department. Lots of these spearmen going down. Great sync shot, taking down a good chunk of the archers there from the longbows. But the men-at-arm count, armor clad in as well. All the upgrades, they're going to be an excellent frontline here. So the knights do need to step up. We're seeing Earl's Guards now coming in as well. Yeomen doing their best here to try and snipe down both the longbows and the spearmen at the front side. Looks like there's also some slight raids going on behind all of this from Louis, and the White Tower has been repaired.
Yeah,
the trebuchets didn't stick to it.
It was focused on a different building, which now will still heal units at the back, but I don't know if that was just a select all army to attack, because they instantly focused the thing that was closest to them. The yeomen doing their best, but that men-at-arms switch just made this so clean, and Louis reigns supreme.
Well done, loueMT here in a clean fashion, able to take the set in the semifinals up against VortiX 4-1. Very clean execution every time, and I gotta say, some unorthodox strategies here and there, and he definitely managed to catch VortiX off guard with them. VortiX, he's I want to say, a very aggressive player, but also a very macro-oriented player. He likes to know his matchups, know what his opponent's capabilities are with the civilization, and Louis just making that so hard for him with the civ picks, with the execution, with the strategies. Able to catch him off guard there, meaning that we are gonna be seeing loueMT in the grand finals for the EGC Masters Summer Tournament.
And if this goes the way that it did in the previous one, Marine Lord might be facing Louis again in that side, but Anatant, we'll see if he has something to say about this. Anatant, Marine Lord coming up next, and this is going to be a pretty wonderful match to experience, because Anatant, I mentioned this before, he has a little bit of that mental block against Marine Lord up until now, and he needs to crawl his way out of it. Now, we would have said VortiX is someone who can take down Louis as well. So anything can happen, and VortiX has had the upper hand over Louis for a while, as we did see that win rate earlier. So I'm not counting out anyone. And I'm really excited to see what Anatan is going to be able to pull out, because we know that this man has been practicing and prepping for his big opponent today. So guys, who's ready for the next one? But I believe we will be going into a short break first. Oh, nope. First interview, and then... So, let's hop on over. Oh, not yet. Sorry, guys. I should have waited for production. Oh, no.
We are preparing for an interview together with a translator for loueMT, so it will be very interesting to get some insights from him here. It's, it's not every day that you get an interview with one of the Chinese players here, so definitely looking forward to that. In the meantime, still able to just look at the last moments here from that last game. These army clashes every time and then, and Louis just with the right build in the right matchup, playing this one really well. Synchronized shot, just these fiery arrows raining down. We can already take a look at the next set as well, as we do have those lovely faces from Marine Lord and Anatan there on the left side waiting for us. In the meantime, yeah, we're getting ready for the interview. Shouldn't be much longer.
Now, for the rest of this, while we're waiting here to make sure that everything is set up, I basically just wanted to ask you, Crackety, if we're seeing a situation where Marine Lord and Anatan go head-to-head, is this going to be one of those where you believe that Marine Lord can take this as a clean sweep, as he's done before against most other players? Or what have we been seeing out from these guys recently, based on their current performances? Because Marine Lord, before you answer, Marine Lord has not been playing small tournaments. This man only leaves his strategies for the big ones. But Anatan, he's shown his hand quite a few times, and he's been looking strong. But historically, this is a tough one.
I mean, the thing is, yeah, Marine Lord likes to hide his hand, right? But Anatan, he practices a lot with Marine Lord. But it is time. We've got an interview ahead of ourselves, so let's just jump in and hear it from the man, the myth, the legend, loueMT himself. All right, Louis, congratulations on winning up against VortiX in this one. Man, I gotta say, there were a lot of very, very interesting strategies coming out from you. I want to quickly ask you, have you specifically practiced them, or were these just strategies where you had a rough idea that they could work? Do we have a translator here? I'm sorry, I can't speak Chinese. I'm trying my best here.
Sam, I can speak English.
Oh my god, perfect. We're trying to make it easier, though, as well. Working on that one. Whichever you're most comfortable with. Just give us a tiny moment longer. We're working on it.
Hello. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. But this is amazing. All right.
Any translators in the chat?
Louis, can you read Discord when I ask you questions? Can you read Discord now? I ask you a question in Discord. Okay, so I just want to first say to everyone, I asked Louis about VortiX, and I asked, was this easy or was it not so easy? So tell us. Louis says he was a very hard opponent.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on with the translator at the moment. So we are going to.
Hold on, Kraken.
Okay.
Hold on.
Are we holding? We're holding.
I'm asking the next question to Louis as well, and I asked him, "Are you ready for Marine Lord?" And I'm waiting to see the answer here. We do have a translator that can join us in Discord as well, if you guys need to. But Louis says that he is ready for Marine Lord as well.
Oh. Definitely looking forward to that. I mean, we don't want to go there yet because Marine Lord said it himself. Annatant can definitely beat Marine Lord. And I want to quickly say, Annatant, just looking at his past performance, beating out Beastie as well, definitely also a tough opponent. You know what? I'm gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do the Discord typing, interview. So I'm asking you, Louis, between Marine Lord and Annatant, who do you think is better?
Actually, I think Marine Lord is better, but I hope Anton will win. Fight.
Definitely gonna be definitely giving. I mean, it would be if you're saying that Marine Lord is better, then definitely would be a nice thing for you if Annatant would win. And honestly, I want to say, like, Annatant, he's been looking incredibly strong at the moment. Is there any update on the interviewer, on the translator at this point in time? Doesn't look like it. So, Louis, once again, I want to say thank you so much for just being here, trying with us with the interview. You just beat VortiX. You still got a very tough set potentially ahead of you. It's going to be either Marine Lord or Annatant. That's going to be the next set that we're going to be looking at today. So we're going to wrap this one short, unfortunately. So you're also able to enjoy the rest of the day. I do believe in China it's probably very late at the time. So you're able to relax and be ready for tomorrow for the big LAN. So once again, congratulations, Louis, and we'll see more from you tomorrow.